You know what's funny about money? Sometimes the person who looks the richest in the neighborhood is the one who's actually the most trapped. And the guy driving the old truck, he might be the one who quietly owns his life. I knew a man like that. He drove a beat-up pickup for years, wore the same old work jacket, and never cared much about impressing anybody. But there was a reason he stopped buying things to look successful, and it wasn't because he couldn't afford them. He had learned something the hard way, something I wish somebody had told me when I was younger. Because once you understand why he was perfectly comfortable looking broke, you'll understand why some people spend their entire lives chasing the appearance of wealth, while someone else is quietly building the real thing. It's 6:45 on a rainy Thursday morning. You're standing in your garage, zipping up a jacket you bought at a hardware store 7 years ago. Outside, your neighbor backs his freshly detailed $85,000 German electric SUV out of his driveway. He gives you a quick nod. You nod back. Your truck's odometer just crossed 178,000 miles. On the passenger seat, your phone lights up with a market notification. Portfolio balance $1.18 million. You turn the phone face down, put the truck in reverse, and head out. Nobody on the highway looks at your beat-up pickup and thinks, there goes a wealthy guy. And honestly, 5 years ago, that would have bruised your ego. Today, it's just comfortable. You don't have anything to prove to traffic. Rewind 14 years. You're 27, fresh off a promotion to senior project estimator. Salary is $64,000. Before the ink on the contract is even dry, you walk straight onto an Audi lot and sign a $510 a month lease on an A4. You felt like an adult. That weekend, you buy a $1,200 blazer on a store card at 26% interest, mostly because your coworker Brandon wears Italian wool and you wanted people to look at you the way they looked at him. Your checking account rarely held more than $500 by the end of the month, but everybody you worked with lived like that. You just figured that's what being a professional costs. Then you met Gavin. Gavin was a 71-year-old masonry contractor who still showed up to jobs in a dented 2002 Chevy van. One afternoon, some guy on the site made a joke about Gavin driving a junker when he's been in business for 40 years. Gavin wiped his pocket knife on his jeans, looked at the guy, and said, "Look, that fancy truck just tells me you've got an $800 payment hanging over your head every month. This van, it starts, it gets me here, and when 4 p.m. hits, I don't owe anybody a dime. Honestly, son, I just got tired of trying to look rich." Nobody laughed. The conversation just died. That night, you opened your bank app in bed. $2,400 in high-interest debt, zero in investments, making $64,000 a year, and on paper, you were basically broke. 6 months later, you eat a $900 penalty to hand the lease back early. You buy a 9-year-old Honda Accord off an older guy for cash. You open a Roth IRA on your lunch break and set up an automated $200 transfer every pay period into an index fund. The first 3 years are just boring. Your friends are getting new leases and posting vacation photos from Cabo. You're eating meal prep, watching your index fund crawl from $5,000 to $18,000 and wondering if this is actually doing anything. At age 31, your portfolio hits $85,000. Then, the market drops over 20% in 6 weeks. You watch $21,000 vanish off a screen. Your stomach drops through the floor. You check the app 6 times a day, sweating through your shirt at work. You go out to Gavin's shop. Gavin doesn't even look up from what he's working on. He says, "Stop staring at the screen, man. You didn't sell anything, so you didn't lose anything. The market's just having a bad month. It does that. Go take a walk and let the transfer run." You don't sell. You keep buying. And by age 34, something weird happens. The growth from the market that quarter was bigger than what you put in from your paycheck. You check the math twice because it doesn't look real. The money is finally working harder than you are. At age 37, your firm offers you a regional director role, a $40,000 raise, but 70-hour weeks and constant travel. 5 years ago, you would have jumped at it just for the title. This time, you look at your $550,000 portfolio, realize your passive returns already cover your basic bills, and politely say, "No thanks, I'm good where I am." That was the moment you realized money isn't for showing off, it's just fuel for your own freedom. But here's the thing nobody warns you about. It gets a little quiet. As your net worth crosses $900,000, you realize you can't really talk about money with most people anymore. When friends stress out over a $600 car repair, you feel bad for them, but you can't join in on the panic like you used to. You learn to keep your mouth shut, play dumb, and just let people assume whatever they want to assume. Back in your garage at 6:58 a.m., you close your portfolio app at $1.18 million. You drive your old truck to work not because you're stuck, but because you chose to be there. And honestly, let the neighbor keep the Range Rover. Being financially invisible is the best feeling in the world. By the time you hit 39, your account balance sits quietly at $820,000. And that's when you notice a strange shift in your life. The money problem is basically solved, but a new kind of isolation creeps in. You're sitting at a weekend cookout. Your old buddy Tyler is complaining about his $900 monthly car payment and how inflation is killing his savings. Everyone at the table is nodding along, sharing their stress. You want to help, but what do you even say? Just stop leasing new cars? It sounds preachy. So you just sip your drink, nod, and keep your mouth shut. You realize that once you step off the status treadmill, you stop speaking the same financial language as almost everyone around you. I remember asking Gavin about this once, right before he fully retired. I asked him if he ever felt weird sitting on $1 million while driving a van with rust on the fender. Gavin just laughed and said, "Son, when you're 25, you care what everybody thinks. When you're 40, you stop caring. And when you're 60, you realized nobody was actually looking at you anyway. They were just looking at themselves." That sentence hit me right in the chest. A year later, my dad's roof needed a full replacement, $11,000, an emergency that would have completely crushed my family 10 years ago. I wrote the check without even blinking. No drama, no borrowing, no stress. My dad tried to thank me like I had sacrificed something huge. I just told him, "Don't worry about it, Dad. That's what it's there for." That single moment was worth every single month I drove that old Honda. Look, nobody's gonna clap for you when you choose freedom over flash. You won't get thousands of likes on Instagram for putting $500 into an S&P 500 index fund every 2 weeks. But on a quiet Thursday morning at 7 a.m., when you look at your life and realize you don't owe anyone a single dollar, a deep sense of calm settles in. You aren't playing their game anymore. You've already won.